On today's video, I'm going to show you the 12 plugins that every server must have on it, whether it's going to be on the community list or on the modded list, it doesn't matter. Plus, I'm going to show you one that you should never use anymore. Hey everybody, welcome back to Rust Admin Academy, where I'm teaching you everything that you need to know about owning and operating a successful Rust server. On this channel, I do plugin reviews and tutorials, plus I want to give you all of the little tips and tricks that are going to help you become more successful. So if you're brand new to the channel, consider subscribing so that you stay up to date on everything that we're working on, and of course, you'll get notified as soon as I upload a new video. If you want to help support what I'm doing at Rust Admin Academy, head on over to SRTBULL.com, click on join, and become a member today. All right, so while this list is not all inclusive, it is the top 12 plugins that I absolutely use on every single server. Yes, there could be more. Sure, there could be less, but when I was planning this video out for you guys, I started out at the top 5 and then I moved it to the top 10 and I was like, no, we have to have this on there too. So I made it the top 12. So these are in no specific order. It's not like one is more important than the other one. In my opinion, you need all 12 of these plugins on every single server. So Vanish is a free plugin. It's available from umod.org. I'm going to put links to all of these plugins in the video description down below. It's also important to note that all of the plugins that I'm showing you today are free. So Vanish allows you to run a chat command, and if set up properly, it will automatically put you in no clip mode at the same time. So when you're chasing these pesky players around your server, you can be hidden from them and be in no clip mode with the simple use of one command in chat. Or if you're like me, you add that to a hotkey where you simply hit a button on your keyboard and it automatically triggers Vanish as well as no clip. So I can be cruising along just like this, type /Vanish in chat, and it automatically puts me in Vanish mode as well as puts me in no clip, so I can fly around and have a look at whatever's going on without anybody knowing I'm there. And as you can see, I have a visual indicator in the bottom left-hand corner of my screen. It looks like a little Ghostbusters icon that lets you know when you're in Vanish mode. If you want that icon for yourself, yes, the plugin does come with one, but if you want this one, which I think, if my memory serves me correctly, was created by Whispers88, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's where I got this icon from. I'll put a link to that image from my image BB in the video description down below. You don't have to use it. Like I said, it does come with one. I forget whether it actually works or not, but it does come with an icon there that you can use if you don't want to use this one. Vanish is obviously controlled by permissions, so it's not like everybody on your server is able to use that command. You only want your admins or your moderators to be able to use /Vanish. So that brings me to the next plugin. Actually, this is 2 plugins, but you get to pick which one you want to use. You absolutely must be using some sort of a permissions manager on your server. There's absolutely no excuse anymore for people having to manually enter or grant permissions to players or to player groups. So permissions manager is available from CodeFling, again, link down below. This one is free, and I do use this plugin. Alternatively, if you'd like to pay to have permissions controls, you can pick up admin menu from Chaos Code. With admin menu, you get a lot more than just permissions controls. You can control permissions by player or by group. And if you've been with me for any length of time, you know that I absolutely discourage everybody from controlling permissions for individual players. Absolutely everything as far as permissions goes should be done by groups. So if you have an admin plugin that you only want to grant your admins or moderators the permission to use, you go in here and you only grant those permissions to the admin group. If you want everybody on your server to be able to utilize a plugin, then you would obviously go into the default group and grant those permissions in there. Speaking of the different groups, with admin menu, we have the capability of adding, deleting, editing groups all directly from within the UI. And probably one of the most important details of this is we can actually control which group each player resides in. So by clicking on user groups, you can see that my player character is a member of the admin group as well as the default group. And just so that it's said out loud, no matter who you are on the server, you're going to be a part of the default group. So you never want to try to remove players from the default group because they're just going to get automatically added back anyways. We can also make changes to a plethora of convars directly from the UI within admin menu. We've also got a really cool search feature in the top right hand corner there where we can search for a specific convar and make changes directly from the UI. We've also got the ability to control plugins directly from the admin menu UI. You can't edit any of the configs directly from it, but you can unload or reload the plugin directly from the UI. Very powerful stuff. And then of course, we've also got the ability to give players different items. We can click on the player that we want to give them to, how many items do we want to give them, etc., etc. So admin menu is a very powerful plugin. You do pay for it, but the reason why I'm introducing it to you is because I want you to get used to using some sort of a permissions manager. If you don't want to pay for admin menu, make sure you're using the free version of permissions manager available from CodeFling. Again, I want to reiterate, I never want anybody to be dealing with permissions either manually or individually by player. I only want permissions dealt with by groups. And so speaking of giving items directly to players, whether it's from a plugin such as admin menu, or if you're doing it directly from the F1 console, you don't want all of the other players on your server to know that you're doing that. So if we give players items directly from the F1 menu, it says it directly in chat, and everybody on your server will see that you're giving items to either yourself or other players. NoGiveNotices, available from Umod, gets rid of that. So now you can see that I'm getting the items in game, but it's no longer saying it in chat that I've given myself those items. NoGiveNotices is not a permission protected plugin. You just drag and drop it into your plugins folder and away you go, it's up and running. Another plugin from a position of an admin knowing what players are doing on their server is AdminRadar. Another free plugin available from Umod and is very much permissions controlled. Again, you're going to want a permissions manager to deal with it. So what AdminRadar does is it allows us to see things in radar format that are going on in our server. So we can do /radar in chat, providing of course that we have the permission to use this plugin, and it gives you a bunch of selectables down next to your health meter, so you can decide what it is that you want to see in radar format. So by default, as soon as you bring up the UI, it's only going to show you active players that are on your server, as well as the Bradley and the heli if it were flying around. You can see off in the distance there's a pink, red, and blue off in the distance there. That's indicating where the Bradley is. But let's say I wanted to see where there were any sleepers on my server. I would just select the sleeper button right here, and it's going to highlight any sleepers on my server. So as you can see there, I can see Banshee is sleeping inside of this God Rock. And if I ever wanted to know where he is, whether he's sleeping or playing, I can know that by using AdminRadar. Same thing with the animals or NPCs. If we turn that on, you'll see there that it shows that there's a boar. Obviously it's right in front of me, so it's really easy to see, but you can see that there's another one off in the distance there, just on the other side of Banshee's sleeping body. If we head over to the outpost, you can see that there's scientists all over the outpost, which of course we would expect. And then of course, if we just click on all, so it turns on all of the filters, you can see that it turns on everything, and we can see a bunch of stuff: nodes, NPCs, animals, loot piles, different types of loot containers. We can see everything all in radar format, all using AdminRadar. Again, it's just another very powerful tool that's going to help you admin or moderate your Rust server. It is very much permissions protected, so make sure that you deal with the permissions correctly and you don't accidentally give that permission away to the wrong player or the wrong group. It can very easily be exploited to the point where it's a cheat. I think they call them ESP. I'm not really sure. I don't get into any of that stuff. Speaking of cheaters and players that have broken the rules, and I mean the official rules, another really good plugin to have on your server is SteamChecks. It's available from umod.org. So what SteamChecks does is every time a player joins your server, it checks their Steam64 ID to see if it meets the criteria to join your server. So if you just drag and drop this plugin into your server, it's automatically going to block players that have a VAC ban within the last 365 days. You of course can go in and change those parameters, which I encourage you to do, but you can control things like how long they've been playing the game before they can join your server. Are they using a family sharing account? Is their Steam account set to private? Maybe you don't want private players in your server. You can make that a stipulation before they can actually join your server. And then you can also decide, do you want them kicked? Do you want them blocked? Do you want them to get a warning before they get kicked? You can control all of that stuff within the configuration file for SteamChecks, but I believe that every server should have SteamChecks installed to keep those nefarious players off of your servers. Now let's say that somebody does get into your server that passes all of those SteamChecks, but they're still using those tools that we don't want people using on our servers. One really good tool that I use to help find those players is AutomatedStashTraps. So what AutomatedStashTraps does is the plugin automatically places X amount of hidden satchels in the ground so that only players that are using those tools that aren't allowed to be used would know where they are. And so if a player finds one of those hidden stashes, the plugin automatically alerts in console as well as in Discord, providing of course you've set that up properly, that somebody has found a stash trap that there's no possible way that they should have been able to find unless they're using one of those tools that we're trying to prevent players from using. So once we have automated stash traps working on our server, if we turn on our AdminRadar, you can see that I currently have 3 different automated stash traps placed on my server. On this particular server, I actually have 150 different locations for automated stash traps. So if any player happens to come along and reveal that stash and certainly get the items within it, because the plugin populates those stashes with items, it's going to send a warning to console, and it's also going to send a warning to your Discord, letting you know that somebody has revealed an automated stash trap. If they reveal several within X amount of time, they will automatically, if you have it set up this way, they will automatically get banned from your server. You don't have to have it that way. I do, because I have zero patience for cheaters. Now, in all fairness, yes, there can be accidental reveals, but there wouldn't be, say, 5 accidental reveals by the same players within a set amount of time. So if they wanted to try to be sneaky about it, sure, there are ways of doing that. However, once they go into an automated stash trap, they're going to recognize that it probably wasn't a player that put it there because of the items that are in it. People normally hide pretty high value items in their stashes, and I think it'll be pretty obvious when a player or a cheater goes into a stash and recognizes that it's not really high value items that are in there. Now, it is important that I let you know that at the time of the recording of this video, the version of automated stash traps on the Umod site is not functioning correctly. I have a fixed version of it. I'm going to let VisEnities know as soon as I'm done recording this video that it's actually not working, and that I have a working solution for him if he decides to patch it using my version. If he decides to not go that route, I'm going to provide this for free, obviously, from my Discord. If you want to just hit me up in Discord, I can send it to you privately. Viz, I hope that's okay with you. If it's not, you know how to get a hold of me and let me know that what I'm doing is not okay. Another really powerful plugin that I suggest every admin have access to on their server is NightVision. And I don't mean NightVision like this. What I mean is when players see this, the people that have permission see this. So that, of course, is NightVision, available from Umod for free. So groups in your server that have permission to use this plugin can use /NV in chat, and it's going to make your island look like this, the middle of the day, when everyone else on your server, and maybe somebody doing something nefarious, sees this. And what I was talking about before with the NightVision goggles is we can do /UNVG in chat, providing, of course, we have the permission, and that's going to turn on an unlimited night vision goggles feature, so that when we turn our night vision goggles on, they don't deplete no matter how long we have them on for. But it is worth noting that the green lenses still show up no matter what. So if you're trying to catch somebody doing something and you're using the night vision goggles to do it, chances are pretty good that they're going to see you watching them. Another useful plugin that I have on every single server that I set up is the RemoverTool. Now, you might be wondering that on the community list, can I use the RemoverTool and still be on the community list? The answer is sort of. It technically violates the terms of service, but as long as only the admins or moderators have access to use this tool, then technically you're not breaking any tools, you're not changing gameplay for the regular players on your server. But what this does, providing of course that you've set up permissions correctly, is it allows your admins or moderators to undo griefing or access a TC for a player that was raided and had their TC blocked out. There's any number of different reasons why you might want to use RemoverTool, even in a vanilla or community situation. But obviously on a modded server, you can use this full capability. You can give access to your regular players as well, so that if they accidentally place a wall, they can easily remove it. And you might be saying, of course, we can just use entkill as admins or moderators. And yes, that's true, you can. So given the right application on a vanilla server, maybe there is no reason for RemoverTool. However, I do still use it. There's a really cool feature built into it called Remove All that will completely remove a base should you find somebody that you want to be asked to exit your server for whatever reason. Another tool that I've been promoting fairly often recently is WipeDataCleaner for free, available from Umod. What this does is anytime the plugin senses a new map save on your server, so you've gone through a wipe and you've deleted your previous map saves, whatever, the plugin notices that and will automatically go through and delete any of the data files that you've predetermined in the configuration file for WipeDataCleaner. It also has an in-game chat command that you can use, providing of course that you have the permission to use it. So if for whatever reason it didn't catch a new map save, or let's say you didn't actually wipe your server, but you do still want to delete all of your data files, or not all of your data files, but the ones that you've specified in the configuration file for WipeDataCleaner, you can simply run that chat command. It's going to unload all those plugins, delete those data files, reload the plugins, and it will obviously allow those plugins to generate new data files. So some real life examples of that, let's say you forgot to delete everyone's homes or something like that during a wipe cycle, you can do /wipe and it's going to delete that, providing of course you've put that in the configuration file for WipeDataCleaner. This plugin right here completely automates the difficult parts of going through a wipe process. So on my servers that are hosted on Fizzgun, they have a built-in Rust wipe tool right there where you can define which data files, or any files on your server for that matter, that you want to delete during a wipe process. I still use WipeDataCleaner even in those situations where the host actually takes care of that for you. I don't know, maybe I'm just a control freak, who knows. Another incredibly valuable tool is UpdateChecker, for free, available from codefling.com. Again, links down below. What UpdateChecker does is it checks with a specific list of plugin providers, Umod, Codefling, Chaos Code, stuff like that, to see if there's an update for any of the plugins that you have on your server. If there is an update for one of the plugins that you have on your server, it will notify you in console, and if you set it up, you can have it notify you in Discord as well. If you're using UpdateChecker, and I highly suggest that you do, you'll notice that heading into a forced update period from Facepunch, a lot of plugins are going to get updated, and you're going to get notified as soon as those updates become available. This is an incredibly valuable tool, and I suggest every server owner has this up and running on their servers. It's just one of the tools that I use on every server that I set up to help ease the process of automating all of my work. There's almost nothing worse than a player coming to you and being like, hey, such and such a plugin isn't working, only come to find out that the developer did actually put out an update and you didn't know about it. UpdateChecker prevents that from ever happening. Now, the last plugin that I want to tell you about that I think every server should have is BetterChat. And I debated whether I should put this at the beginning or at the end of the video. But like I said, these aren't in any specific order. I think every server needs to have these plugins. So you might be wondering, why would I want to use BetterChat, especially in a community server type situation? Well, BetterChat by itself is set up so that we can change how people's names and their chat look in chat when they're using in-game chat. So we can customize their colors and we can add titles directly to their name. But that's not why I use BetterChat. I strictly use BetterChat just for group management. So I don't use Oxide groups. I only use BetterChat groups. So when I'm in Permissions Manager or Admin menu and I'm looking to deal with a specific group, I'm dealing with a BetterChat group, not an Oxide group. Now, I know that there's some misunderstandings there about, oh, BetterChat groups are just using Oxide groups, and technically in the background that is true. However, it is possible to accidentally set up an Oxide group and a BetterChat group that are named the same thing, and you could be granting permissions to an Oxide group and you think that it should be translating over to the BetterChat group, and it doesn't actually, and vice versa. So this is literally the first plugin that I install on every single server so that I immediately start setting up my groups using only BetterChat groups and not Oxide groups at all. You can't imagine how many times I've gone in to help somebody out with their server. I go into their permissions manager and I see two groups with the exact same name with different permissions assigned to each one. Well, that's what happened in that type of a situation, is they've set up a BetterChat group and an Oxide group and then mixed up which one they were assigning which permissions to. It becomes an absolute disaster. And for anybody with any kind of skill, you would jump into that scenario and you would recognize what happened. They'd be like, so-and-so can do this. I'm supposed to be able to do this, but I can't. And typically that's what's happened, is you've assigned a permission to an Oxide group and not to a BetterChat group, assigned a player to that group and not this group. It just gets really messy. So just trust me when I say you're far better off to only be using BetterChat and their associated BetterChat groups to save yourself any of the headaches down the road. One pro tip that I will give you when you're dealing within the BetterChat groups is this right here. Hidden set to true is your best friend. If you've ever gone into a server and seen brackets player next to anybody's name, you know that that server owner, I don't want to say didn't know what they were doing, but they didn't follow the process properly. At no point in time do I ever want to go into anybody's server and see bracket player next to anybody's name. So always hide the default group no matter what you've got going on there, especially in a vanilla or a community scenario where you don't necessarily want anybody knowing that you're using the BetterChat plugin. Another really important one is the admin tag. So you definitely want to have that hidden. You don't want anybody on your server knowing that you're an admin or that there's an admin present on the server. Unless, of course, you want people to know that you're there, then of course you can leave this set to false. But trust me when I say, do not ever get caught playing as an admin on your server. Always remember that the perception of admin abuse is almost worse than the actual admin abuse. So we've all seen this before. We go into a server and we see a player that has a green name when everyone else's name is blue. Well, to the people that are looking for it, they know that that player in the green text is an admin or a moderator of that server. It completely gives away your identity. And this is what it looks like when BetterChat is running and the tags are hidden. I just look like any other player on this server. Nobody would know by looking at my name in chat that I'm actually an admin on this server. So you might be asking yourself, okay, great, but I've heard of a plugin out there that prevents that from happening so I don't have to use BetterChat. Well, first of all, BetterChat is an incredibly simple plugin to use, and I've done 3, 4, maybe even 5 different videos on how I utilize BetterChat, but I know that you've heard of that plugin out there that prevents the green in chat. And that plugin is called NoGreen. It's available from Umod, and I highly suggest that nobody ever use this plugin ever again. I absolutely adore Mysticos, but I would prefer that he just remove this plugin completely from the Umod site and make it not available to anybody. Why? Because I've already said that you should be running BetterChat on every single server out there anyways, which negates the necessity for using a plugin like NoGreen. Plus, if you are using NoGreen and then you decide to add BetterChat later, there are some conflicts there and things start doing some pretty funky things. So that one plugin that I highly recommend that nobody ever uses ever again is this NoGreen plugin. You start getting like double chat and it's just messy. Just use BetterChat. It has all of the functionality to prevent people from knowing that you're an admin on your server. Plus it also gives you the ability of using groups. And by that, I mean BetterChat groups, not Oxide groups. So there you have it. That is 12 plugins that I personally use on every single server that I set up. So if you've ever asked me to build a server for you, this list is definitely on your server. For anybody that's interested in setting up a server going forward, I highly recommend you use this list in the video description down below and just grab all of those plugins. Of course, then you're going to be getting the most up-to-date versions of them as well. I am going to send a message to Viz Entities right away here, letting him know that I do have a fixed version of AutomatedStashTraps, and maybe I'll start a conversation as to why he didn't want to work on that. God only knows what that reason is, but I know that there is a reason. I use AutomatedStashTraps on every single server, so I've had to use this fixed version on several different instances, but if I'm setting up a server for somebody else, they wouldn't have access to that fixed version. So I'll talk to Viz and find out what's going on. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this top 12 list plus the one that I suggest nobody ever uses. If this video was helpful for you, do me a huge favor and hit that thumbs up for me. You have no idea how much that helps me out with the YouTube algorithm, and it's becoming increasingly more difficult to get my videos out to newer viewers. If you haven't yet, head on over to SRTBULL.com. All of my videos are over there. Plus you can join and become a member and help what I'm doing at Rust Admin Academy. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you again next week.